Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Full Tank Motorcycle Podcast. It's me, Rob, from the YouTube channel Moto Bob, and I'm joined by my good friend Tim. How's things?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Pretty busy. We've got EICMA next week. The biggest and best, I would say, motorcycle show in the world.
Wow, I like the pauses in between each word to get real gravitas.
I was giving myself time to think if there are any of the better ones. I'd say...
No, I agree with you. I think that's a safe statement to say. I think, the fact that everyone from around the world flocks there tells you something. So, yeah.
It's interesting because, over the past few years, a few exhibitors have sort of dropped out. I remember last year there was no KTM, there was no BMW, there was no MV Agusta even, who were based very locally. But I think this year it looks like it's back on the up. I don't think BMW are going to be there, but pretty much everybody else. And so I'm super looking forward to it. We've got quite a few bikes under embargo that are going to be announced. So I can't talk about those today, but there's a lot. I've got a list of bikes to go and film while I'm there. And we're talking probably about 10 bikes under embargo or that will be at least brand new to go and film. So it's going to be busy.
In comparison to other years, is that more than normal, or is that kind of
I think so.
average?
Well, look, I've been in 2019 when I didn't really know what I was doing and I was there on my own. Last year, then we had COVID, of course. Last year, there was probably about 6 or 7 exciting bikes because there were so many companies that dropped out because of COVID. I think a lot of people realized they could launch motorcycles online and not need to pay for a massive stand at the show. But for some reason, it's kind of gaining popularity again. So they've done a good job to get people interested and keep it alive. And I'm so glad because it's an incredible event. But yeah, I think we're just seeing it back on the up a little bit. And hopefully it'll be the same. We've got Motorcycle Live in the UK a couple of weeks after. We're going to go on the Friday, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I think attendance was a little down last year, maybe. I don't know if people are still at that stage cautious about being in crowded places or whatever, but hopefully again this year it'll be up. And it kind of relies on the bikes a bit as well. Is there anything actually good to go and see?
Yeah, I think this year, if I'm anything to gauge it off, we'll take it off my levels.
Mate,
I'm somewhat excited about the bikes. Like I used to be about computer game releases and stuff, which I don't get anymore, right? And that, is it Games Con, whatever the hell it was that they used to sort of release the games anyway.
Absolutely pretending not to know. But if we scroll back on your, social media feed, there's probably a picture of you dressed up as Zelda or something.
But that's the one. So I used to get excited about that. Like, oh my God, all these new games come in. And I'd say actually, this year I've got a little bit of that buzz where I'm kind of like, ooh, there's some new bikes and kind of exciting bikes, or at least it seems that way to me. But then I don't know about the embargoes. I'm just going off the ones that I've kind of heard rumblings of.
Well, I thought what we do today is go through some of the bikes that we are allowed to talk about so far that have been announced for 2024. And just, I've got 13 of them to talk through. So there's a lot already. And, naturally, because we were prolific with the sort of news videos about this stuff, I'm pretty familiar with them. But some of them you may have seen, some not. And so I think you are a good representation of the average biking public. Maybe a little more clued in, given your profession. But I'd say that's your role today. And I want you to kind of, as we go through, maybe give them an A, B, or a C in terms of anticipation and how much they're giving you a tingle in whatever...
in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we've got to start with the big one, the BMW R1300 GS. How much are you across this bike, or do you want me to give you the lowdown?
I would like the lowdown. I've seen some photos of it, and I've seen people riding it, I think.
Yes, a lot of people got on it already.
Cool. So I have seen a little bit, but no, I know very little about its specifications or anything.
Right. Well, the engine is the same boxer twin, but it's kind of all new. And there's a little bit more power, I think a bit more torque as well. And they've also taken quite a bit of weight out of it. And if you look at the whole bike, it's a lot slimmer. It does look leaner than previous GSs. You can see there's an aluminium subframe now instead of steel. They've lightened up the shaft drive as well. So it's basically shed a lot of weight and put on a bit more power, and it's a bit more modern. And then they've just revised pretty much most stuff across the bike. There's tweaks to the suspension, so It has new features like variable spring rates. Can you believe that? There's an extra chamber on the shock with another spring that can be opened up basically or not to change the spring rate, not just the damping with the electronic suspension. And it's also got adaptive ride height like a lot of adventure bikes now, so it can drop down at lower speeds, so it's easier to get your feet on the floor. It's got...
Okay. Yeah, sorry, the spring rates. Yeah. Well, the spring rate's quite an interesting one. Because I've heard of, electronically managed suspension, which I've heard of that even working in real time. Yeah, but I've never really made the distinction of the fact that it's not the spring, because that obviously never changes on a variable bike.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, they open or close the valve, right? Or they would sort of close the aperture. Yeah, okay.
I think it might be a first.
All right.
So it's super interesting. Obviously, I don't really know what it's like to ride. You're right, a lot of people have been out riding them. I'm trying to get hold of one, but it's just hard to schedule it with BMW around EICMA now and Motorcycle Live, because I want to make sure I've got 2 solid weeks or something clear to make some really good content with it. So, we'll get to it, but I'm really interested in checking that out. I don't know if it's, I can't remember from the press release, but I assume that's tied into the riding modes. And I guess you could have firmer springs for hard off-roading, but even maybe, I don't know if it changes whether you've got different load on the back or even for sportier riding. So definitely an interesting one. And then, of course, it's got the latest radar tech, everybody's favorite feature or not. The comments are normally full of people saying, oh, why would you want a robot to ride the bike for you when, ultimately it's meant to be a engaging experience for the rider. But I think on the motorway and stuff, personally, I quite like it. So it's got the front radar, rear radar. So you've got active cruise control, you've got blind spot warnings, and also I think it has a front collision detection system that will give you a bit of brake assist if it thinks you're going to run into something.
Fancy, very, very fancy. Let's start with the tingle. This gives me a mild tingle.
What's it like a B?
Yeah, it's a B. Yeah, it's not traditionally, as we know, it's not traditionally the sort of bike that I get excited for, but I do like to ride.
Yes.
I actually rode my friend's GS recently for the very first time. I haven't been on a GS before. And I wanted to, I was curious. So I was with the Africa Twin and obviously hopped on his. And I was surprised actually with how it felt. Pleasantly surprised with how much I liked it. It's felt weirdly smaller and more manageable than the Africa Twin, which shouldn't be the case, or at least that's not what I thought going into it.
Yeah.
Because it's a big, hefty bike. It's about as intimidating as bikes get if you're not used to tall, heavy bikes, right?
It's a bit of a cliche, isn't it, to say like a bike holds its weight low, but it really does. Like it doesn't feel as difficult to ride as it looks like it'll be. Not
at all. And it's, easy to flat foot. It's like, it's just ergonomically set up. It was just it was a pleasant experience. It was really, really good. So I've no doubts that will be an absolute joy to ride. Looks wise, it's I think it's got a bit more KTM kind of look. It's quite aggressive looking now, right?
Yes.
I think there's a huge opening of a mouth on the front of it. It almost looks like it's yawning or it's snarling, one of the two. But you can see all of the suspension and gubbins up there underneath the mudguard, which was less obvious, I think, on the last one.
Yeah.
I can't tell from this angle, but I think, is that the one with they've got a new headlight configuration, right? I'm not sure I'm a big fan of how that looks. I don't think it might grow on me, but, visuals aren't the most important thing, obviously. But everything else looks pretty sort of like svelte and streamlined. Like the screen's pretty small, the tail section's pretty small, the exhaust is surprisingly small for a new
Euro it's tiny, isn't it? It looks like a little stubby slip-on. I guess because the majority of the catalyzer that does a lot of the kind of work is down under the bike. So it means the silencer can be a bit smaller. And they're so restrictive now, the cats they put them through, that maybe there wasn't that much noise to quell anyway.
No.
As for the front end, I take what you're saying. Like, it's definitely going to take a little while to get used to. I do wonder if a little bit of the strangeness of the looks is dictated by that radar, which is a necessity.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
But yeah, okay, well, interesting. That's a B then. I think I kind of agree. I do. I think the looks will grow, but we'll wait and see what it's like to ride. Interestingly, though, perhaps more appealing to me is the next bike, which is the slightly smaller version of the R1300 GS, the F900 GS. What do you think? Have a little look at that.
Hold on, let it settle a little bit here.
I'll talk you through the updates. Again, they've really slimmed it down, like the tails section. I mean, this is completely revised pretty much. So they've basically done the same thing, which is try to slim it down, but they've also give it a bit more power. And it really looks like, the F850 GS, which was the predecessor to this.
Yes.
It was just not very standout in any one field. Whereas this one, it looks like they've really gone for the aggressive off-road route. So I think it's taller, it's slimmer, it's got more, I think, accessories. Like there's an Enduro pack where you can get more extreme off-road biased suspension. And then they've kind of left the F800 GS, which used to be the 750, and also the F900 GS Adventure. They've left those more as they were, I think, as kind of like road and touring biased options. So this sort of becomes the more off-roady one. And the big change is probably the engine, which is being sort of transplanted in from the F900R and F900 XR. Now, the R we rode a little while back, didn't we?
Yeah, it's giving me that kind of vibe because, the front section on that, obviously it's jacked up a little bit, but same headlight look to it. Yeah, same front,
So it used to be the asymmetric GS thing with one headlight and then a little one at the side, but now it very much does look like part of the F900, at least the R and XR lineup. And I think on paper it sounds really good. Like it's gone up to 105 horsepower. I think it was more like 90 something before, and that's because it's got basically the same output figures as the the R and XR. But I don't know if you remember this, but when we reviewed the F900R, I was like, this bike sounds like it's going to be brilliant on paper. It's great value for money. It's got loads of tech. The engine sounds quite powerful, and it's parallel twin with a nice snarly exhaust note. And this sort of thing I normally would, at least if the looks don't do it for me, still enjoy riding. But I was super flat on that bike, wasn't I? I was just like, I don't really care either way about it. I can't remember what you thought. I think you liked it more than I did.
A little bit more than you did, but then that's because you were really flat on it.
Well,
no, I would agree with it. I don't think you're unjustified in it. It's one of those subjective, not objective. Does it make you sort of excited or not? And yeah, same thing. You look at the specs and you go, oh yeah, it looks like a good bike. Sit on it and you go, it's doing nothing for me. I'm not really interested. We were out on the Vitpillen at the same day.
Well, that is kind of like a strong indication of my feelings towards it, because we weren't doing a comparison. We just had the F900R and the Vitpillen 701 with the single cylinder, and we were just using the day to efficiently make two reviews, right, of separate bikes.
Yeah.
But we swapped between a little bit, and I was just loving every moment on the 701. It's very lightweight, and you can use all of the engine on the road. It was like 70-something horsepower. And I was like enjoying that far more than 105 horsepower twin from BMW, which I think normally I would say, well, that's the one that should be a little bit more of a laugh on the road. But it just, it felt flat. But I got to say, I won't judge this particular, buck by its cover, because potentially just makes more sense in a certain application like this, maybe an engine that doesn't feel that lively or, thrilling on the road might actually be quite good in this sort of style of bike, an adventure bike. And I will say the styling job for me, I know it takes a little while just to accept that they put that F900 headlight in there, but especially that Sao Paulo yellow pop-in version. For me, that's a great looking bike. I don't know what you think.
Not.
Mate.
Yeah, it's eye catching.
Give it to me straight. What are you thinking?
No, I don't like that color.
What about the GS Trophy version that's in the red, white, and blue?
Yeah, no, that looks
gold
quite
rims.
Nice. Yeah, I think that is quite a nice little feature. That I wish my bike had gold rims. To be honest, it's
oh yeah, it's the sign of a good bike.
Yeah. Especially the off-road bikes as well, right? Adventure bikes need gold wheels.
Get a bit of get a rattle can on your Africa Twin. Just mask off the tires with a bit of tape.
Good idea. Yeah, I'll send you a photo later. I will sum this up very, very quickly and say, would you buy that over a Tenere?
I'm not as in love with the Tenere as probably a lot of people are, because the Chrysler's price has crept up so much over the past few years that it's like 10 grand now. When it was 8 grand when it launched, it was, I think I've said this before on the pod, you know, that's a different thing. You're willing to accept quite a simple bike at a good price point, and the whole idea of it being super off-road focused and bare bones and not too expensive all works together quite nicely. But as it's been so popular, and I suppose the price of everything's crept up a bit, but 10 grand is starting to get some serious money, isn't it? And I think these are only, I think they'll start at 11 or 12. So it's not like a huge difference. I know it's like 11 and a half for a KTM 890 Adventure. So for me, wholeheartedly, I think I would buy one of these because of the extra road ability and the fact that you can't really just exclusively ride off-road in the UK. Certainly for what I'm doing. I'd rather have something with a bit more power, better road componentry, and it's got the good dash on this and a few more settings. Well, but it's still got that cool image, hasn't it? So
yeah, to throw another one into the mix though, if that's not the one you're doing it for, the only reason I throw out Tenere is because it's been the daddy in that class for the longest time. And if you want a middleweight, it's ridiculous that a 900 is a middleweight off-roader adventure bike, then you go for the Tenere. Tenere is the benchmark. And then it was the KTM. So KTM 890. Would you buy that over this?
The 890?
Because that's got more of the tech that this one has.
The 890 is a great, like for me, is like a good benchmark because it's like really good on the road as well as being really good off road, and it's got that low hanging tank which makes it really easy to manage. Much like we we're just saying about the 1250 GS.
Yeah.
It'd be the starting point at least, I think, if I was buying a bike like that. But I think this is visually more appealing. Realistically, probably has some of that all-round ability as well. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to trying it out.
An impressive class. I mean, I got to say. So you've got the Aprilia as well, right?
That's more like down the. Yeah, it's got to be in the mix, but it's a slightly smaller bike.
That middleweight, and again, I'm going to say it's ridiculous that 900 is a middleweight, but the middleweight adventure class is there's quite a lot of choice now. It's quite impressive, and they're all kind of gunning for having that spot.
I've tried to order these bikes in some. I think I did it in some sort of like logical order, so I thought the podcast would flow. And you've really helped me along there, mate, because the next one is the 2024 Triumph Tiger 900, another middleweight adventure bike.
About to say.
I don't know if you saw this either, but what I found interesting about this one is much like that F900 GS, it's gone from that 90 odd horsepower up to 108 PS now. They've added a bunch of extra power at the top end. They say they've changed a lot of components. Well, the thing is, with a 94 horsepower bike, you can then legally restrict it down to like 37 horsepower, whatever it is, and sell it as an A2 compliant bike. So anyone who's A2 can have it restricted. Then when they pass their full license, they can get it de-restricted and still keep their same bike. But it's only bikes under 94 horsepower that you can do that with. I feel like, KTM have had the 890 Adventure as a bit of a benchmark in this category for a while. And it's made 105 horsepower. So it's an extra 10, 11 versus stuff like the Tiger 900 and the F900 GS. And it feels a bit like, who on earth with an A2 license, it's an age thing basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is going to have the money, and also maybe who's going to want the sort of image of a middleweight adventure bike like a Tiger 900. I just don't really see, me in my 20s being like, I think what I'd probably do is buy something cheaper that was lower, capacity, and then just trade up eventually for something that I really want. But anyway, I feel like they've kind of realized, probably not that many A2 people are, and actually ditch it and just go for a massive headline peak power figure that's going to look good in the sort of sales.
Yeah, because shoot yourself in the foot, right? If KTM's going out there with over 100 and you're like, we've got 94, then anyone on there who is impressed by that, and we know it's not the be all and end all, it's not the like full story, but if you want the game of top trumps with your friends, where you're like, oh, my bike's got 105 horsepower. Oh, mine's got 108. If you're doing a bit of sword measuring, then you want the most power. So yeah, I would agree. That's probably what they've done. You're right. I didn't realize that was what you could do with a 94 horsepower bike. You can make it A2 restricted.
Just restrict it down.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah, and also I think that's right. Like, although it might not be necessarily just the bragging rights as well. I think literally if you walk into a dealer like Fowler's in Bristol where they stock KTMs and they stock Triumphs, and you're like, well, that one makes 94, but for pretty much the same money, maybe a little bit less, I could get that KTM that makes 105. It's one of the factors in your mind, isn't it?
You feel like you're getting more. Yeah, you feel like you're literally getting more. Like you can collect the horsepowers in a bowl and be like, look, I've got more horsepowers now. Well, look at the value I'm getting for this money.
Whereas, is it ever going to get anyone excited if they have that in the back of their mind that this bike is A2 restrictable? Not really. That's not going to come up in your bragging rights. So I think it's the right call. There's some other interesting changes on this bike, but for me, the big one is the fact that they've rubber mounted the bars now. I don't know if you remember me saying that the Tiger 900, because it's got that T-plane crank, it vibes quite a bit through the bars at 70, and not that I ever do, for the record, but if one was to hypothetically go above 70 towards like 80 and 90, the speeds at which I know some reckless bikers like to cruise on the motorway, I believe it vibes even more, and it's kind of a little bit irritating over distance.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think I've heard that, not just from you actually, I've heard that from some other people as well. Yeah, and I think I sort of felt that as well. You said that on the 1200 as well. And
yeah, you find it on all
the
of them.
first time we took it out, I didn't notice that, but then when we borrowed it and took it up to Adventure Bike Rider, Adventure Bike Festival, ABR Festival.
Adventure Bike Rider Festival.
That's the one, all of the words that I was saying. But yeah, I definitely felt it then. I was like, yeah, no, you got a point. It is a little bit more vibey than my Africa Twin, which is kind of ridiculous because it is a twin, so you would expect it to be a little bit more shaky. But then sometimes triples are. But yeah, good.
Yeah,
good.
I think it looks decent.
Sensible.
Yeah, I think so, and it's actually surprisingly common on bikes. A lot of them do have rubber mounted bars, even though it sounds like it'll be all wobbly and loose. I don't think that's the case. Surely, like the most sharpest sporty naked bikes and sports bikes wouldn't have it, but for an adventure bike where you do want a bit of comfort, I think it's a good shout.
And I mean, you shouldn't be gripping it for your life, should you? I mean, as long as it's not going to come off, which it's not, then it doesn't matter whether it's got a little bit of rubber damping to kind of
exactly, mate. New Lux, what do you think of that? Not a revolution, is it?
No, not a huge amount. The belly pan, right? It looks a little fatter on the bottom,
but
then that's the proper off-roady type one, so you need a big reinforced... I thought it was a really reinforced bash plate, looks like.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know. Quite often the standard bash plate and the standard engine bars are actually a bit soft and you end up replacing them. But we'll see. It looks pretty robust. They've gone for new paint, new side panels as well.
Yeah,
I think it looks quite good. And then some new safety features. So the indicators are always on, just like your Africa Twin, as position lights. They've gone with link braking so that the front lever is going to give you a little bit of rear. I don't know if that disables in the off-road modes, probably.
Okay.
And what was the other safety feature? Oh, it's got an emergency brake light feature. So if you brake hard, the indicators will flash to stop people from rear-ending
The
you.
linked braking thing's a strange one. I don't think I'll ever really get on board with that, because if you've got ABS, it feels a little redundant to me to do the whole linked braking system. But
you know what? I've tried it on some bikes where it's terrible, where it's mechanically linked,
Sinus?
Like the little 125s.
Yeah.
When it's good is perhaps on something like the Goldwing, where it's just such a big bike. Like you kind of want it just to stop, and you're not really that bothered about how. And I think when I asked Steve Sargent, who is the head of engineering at Triumph, in an interview about the Speed Triple, when they updated that to the 1200, are people going to be able to get on board with link braking? People generally want more control, not less. He was saying, no, it wasn't Stuart Wood, sorry. Steve Sargent's head of product. Stuart Wood's the chief engineer, sorry. He said to me, it's subtle enough that it will just reduce your stopping distances and you won't even notice it's happening, which is fair enough. And actually, I think they have it on the street triple as well now. And I can't say riding either of those bikes fairly extensively that I have noticed it. So, yeah, fair enough. I think that's probably a positive change. Although we'll try it out, mate. We'll try and get on it both of us on it and see if we can
really jam that brake up, and see.
Anyway, give me your A or wait. You didn't give me an A, B, or C for the F900 GS.
Yeah, C. And the reason I say C is because I can't put it in the same class as the big boy, the 1300, because that one I am more excited for. So because I put that at a B, then I have to put the 900 at C, I'm afraid.
And you got to leave some headroom for later in the list as well.
Exactly.
Tiger 900, 2024.
Yeah, I got to admit, it's a C with this one as well, but only because there's nothing massively revolutionary. Yes, it's nice to have more power, but it's not a whole platform change.
Okay, I think personally, I'm a little more excited than you, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Your rationale is sound. I just think it looks cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. Number 4 on the list, Triumph Scrambler 400. There's also the Speed 400, which is the lower slung kind of roadster. This is their new single cylinder that's built out in India. But I just put the Scrambler in because I think realistically, both of us, given the choice of the two bikes, would probably want to hop on this and give it a try.
Yeah.
This is built by Bajaj, who also make the sub 400 KTM. So stuff like the 390 Duke and the 390 Adventure, and I think some of the 125s and 250s that are available out in India. The price point looks really aggressive for these. It's not far off some of those bikes. And I think styling wise, they've nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think of the looks.
Yeah, so this one is one that I'm pretty familiar with because they've been rolling this one out for a little while, as in you could see it in the flesh, right? So I'm pretty sure
also,
I've seen these somewhere.
They released it in India and everyone's able to, I'm not sure if you could buy it yet, but certainly the press have been all over it. And they haven't even done the press ride in Europe yet. So I think it'll be in the next month or two that we get to ride one.
Have they not? That's surprising, yeah, because obviously I know you've known about this for a while.
Yeah,
we've talked about it previously. This is the one that you went and did the launch. You went and saw them up in Hinckley, yeah?
Yes, exactly. I did a video that got like 600,000 views in a very short space of time. It was hugely successful, but it was mainly people from India. Which is fine, but it's not really our core audience. So I think occasionally bikes like this, they just pull in a huge Indian audience. So what I'm saying is I wouldn't compare those numbers because you've got so many people in India for a start,
of course.
And a lot of them ride bikes. That I wouldn't compare that to say hitting, if you got 600,000 views for like, whatever, the new GS even,
sure,
it would be, that would be a lot. But yeah, typically with bikes like this, the new Enfields, you do get a lot of views.
So it got a lot of views, but measure it against the audience that it's going.
Measure it against Enfield videos, definitely.
So I would say no. I am excited actually. I would like to have a little play on this because I think everyone loves, even when you love a bigger bike and you want to own a bigger bike, everyone loves hopping on something small and fun.
Yes.
So I'd love to have a little go. I'm very excited to try this, but yeah, I'm sure I've seen it in the flesh. And yeah, excited to see it motorcycle live as well. I think I've definitely sat on them as well. But yeah, it's really good. I think they've done a great job styling it. I think it will do well. And I think this is your A2 bike. Like Sack going for a Tiger and trying to limit it down. Go for one. Yeah.
I need to just quickly check the price on them. Sorry. So there we have it. 4,995 for the Speed 400 and 5,595 for the Scrambler. I think that's good.
I would agree. Yeah. Well, I mean, like the market is going up. It's still If you look at it like a second-hand market, it's but compare it to all of its competitors, and that is a good aggressive price. So
I think I'd imagine. Yeah, I think what I imagine will happen in some cases is anyone with like a big Tiger 1200 or even the Scrambler 1200 might like one of these as a little second bike. Imagine that in the garage. That'd be so great. That'd be a great garage.
I've said this, like, when I took out the Scrambler 1200, and I was like, I love it. It's great. It's very capable. But if I was taking a bike, if I was actually going to go off road, I want to spend $4,000 or $5,000, not 13, 14 upwards. I don't want to go and take my possibly even £20,000 bike off road. Just
commuting as well. Maybe you're someone who uses your Tiger 12 for touring or big weekend rides, but you want something just for getting around more locally that's not as valuable.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very nice. I'm really looking forward to this one. Number 5, though.
Oh, I didn't give you an excited thing about it.
B. Let's go back. You got a B for the Scrambler 400.
I'm a B, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Number 5 then. You've ridden the Trident, haven't you? Because you rode mine when I owned one.
Yeah. Yes.
And you thought it was pretty good because you used to have a 675 Street Triple, didn't you? So I guess it was just like an updated version of that that's a little bit more affordable, not quite as fancy.
Yeah, it didn't feel quite as fast as the 675. Totally. And then obviously, but it felt like just a baby Street Triple, which is what it should feel like. Definitely.
And this, then we had the Tiger Sport 660, which is the sort of semi-touring, sports touring type tall kind of thing. Very good bike as well. And also, again, to be fair to Triumph, I think quite a good price point when it launched, around the $8,000 mark, I think. Really, really good. Handles beautifully. This is a spied version, which I said some of these bikes are confirmed for 2024, but we don't have this confirmed yet. But it's got, look how close it is in the pictures. It's got to be coming soon. And effectively, it's kind of like a fared sporty version of those two bikes. Same platform. You can see some shared componentry, like I think the dash looks similar, the wheels maybe, the swing arm, the frame, the engine, all that kind of thing. It may be called a Daytona, but if you look at the riding position, I haven't got many shots here on this particular picture, but if you look at some of the side-on shots, and I do have some video of it being ridden, it's sat quite upright. So it's not really a Daytona. I wonder if they will call it a Daytona, or they might call it something like a Sprint 660. They used to have the Sprint Sports Tourers.
Yeah.
Quite a nice styling job from what I can see so far as well. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty svelte. It's got their styling, which is nice to see. Sort of the headlights and stuff. It is very similar to the Tiger Sport 660. It just looks like the face is a little bit more sort of like squished, so it's a more handsome version of the touring bike,
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, good job on it. It'll be fun. I quite like. It's a nice sort of sweet spot as well. It's less intimidating. It was sort of probably less sporty than like the R7, the Yamaha R7.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like that size of bike is a really nice size of bike to have as a kind of unintimidating but still fun kind of sporty bike to go and learn on and feel like you're doing well in real world conditions. Because the thing is, you're riding that thing, you're not riding it on a track, you don't want to be fully on your wrists or anything like that. So
it's nice. Interesting. I don't know how it fits into that market. The RS660 from Aprilia is kind of a comfy sports bike, but it'll probably be quite a bit more spec'd and powerful than this is going to be eventually.
I agree. Yeah.
Then the R7, which is probably going to be a bit down on power still, but is more aggressive in the riding position. So there are like a few different little flavors in this market, but hopefully this will find its own spot. I mean, the good thing with the Triumphs is they always bring the triple. Like the Trident is the only triple in the sort of middleweight, affordable naked bike segment. Yeah. And same with the Tiger Sport, versus a Tracer or a Versys 650 or something like that. It's nice to have that unique selling point, and it is a great engine. It does do a bit of torquiness and a bit of reviness, and it's smooth and all those good things. So maybe it'll fit in there. I think I said in my video when I looked at the spy shots, typically like Yamaha don't make any changes to the performance of that CP2 parallel twin when they put it in different bikes. It's not more torquey in the adventure version and more revy in the R7, for example. So I was saying, in terms of efficiencies of producing things, just, clone out the same engine and it will be affordable to make, and you just stick it in different bikes. Actually, I've heard rumor that this will be a bit tuned up and make a bit more than the 80 horses, I believe. Is it 80 for the Trident? I think it's around 80.
Sounds about right. But yeah, I would say, well, that's cool. I mean, like, if the bike is electronically managed, it does feel like you can do that easier.
Oh, you think they've just limited the first two bikes in the lineup and then... Because they do that, mate.
Right, so it depends if they've mechanically changed anything, which I doubt for cost reasons.
Yes.
Or if you've just made a different mapping system for it, which is fine, and that's still valid, but definitely easier to do. So maybe they've done that.
Look, the Tiger 850 is the more affordable version of the Tiger 900, and physically the same engine. They've just knocked a few horsepower off the top and given it a slightly different tune. And it's the same with BMW with the F800 GS now and the F900 GS. Same engine, just limited a bit. So yeah, maybe you're right. They might do the same thing. They might have done that to the Trident and Tiger Sport 660, knowing they're going to launch this and just give it a bit more pop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it looks great. A, B, or C?
B.
B-ish. Yeah.
Just
I think that's fair. Ooh, number 6.
Ooh. I did see this. I have seen a photo of this.
Yamaha XSR900 GP is why Tim is saying ooh. It's
Ooh.
not a revolution, this, is it? It's not a particularly new bike because it's basically just an XSR900 with clip-ons and a fairing. But sometimes a bike adds up to more than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
And I think this is one that does.
Is that exactly as you would buy it out of a showroom? Is that how it's coming?
Yes.
That's pretty fucking trick, man. Are we allowed to swear? I can't remember if we swear on this thing or not. It's flipping trick.
In this particular instance, I think you're allowed to drop an F-bomb because it looks that good.
Mate, that is so eye-catching. If you turn it, you look ready to race with that thing. You know,
yeah, definitely.
I like it. I'm all in on that. It's quite a nice look, actually.
A quick description for the audience, especially anyone who's listening on audio only. Of course, you can watch this podcast episode over on YouTube if you search for Full Tank Motorcycle Podcast. But specifically for the audience with the ears only, this is the XSR 900, which is the sort of semi-retro version of Yamaha's MT-09 Naked. So it's got their 900 triple in it, which makes just under 120 horsepower. And it makes just over 90 Newton meters of peak torque. Very mid-rangey, super lively engine. One of my favorite engines on the market. And dare I say it, I think a triple cylinder engine that's actually potentially better than a Triumph. Big statement that, mate. It's just so good. Sounds good. It's like always entertaining. And it's just got more guts. You know, like a street triple makes about 120 horsepower now. Maybe a little bit more. But it's a 765cc engine, not a 900. And so it doesn't have that guts in the mid-range that this has. And so on the road, this just feels a lot more exciting, I think. In those sort of mid-range revs. Street triples still brilliant, probably better handling. But yeah, XSR 900 for me was already an excellent bike. Basically an MT-09 with a bit of a body kit. And then this GP version, they've just put a half fairing on it and given it this paint job that is retro inspired, let's say. It looks a bit 80s. It's white and then a very bright red. So, and then yellow sort of number board. So it would be probably inspired by a Yamaha racer of the 80s or 90s. I can't say which one. And also, mate, they've announced a full fairing kit. So you can actually, as an accessory, buy the lowers, which looks
That's
so
quite cool.
Yeah,
that is quite cool. See, I don't like the look of the new XSR 900. I'm not as big a fan of what they've changed that up from. I prefer the previous generation. However, this one is better than the previous generation. Yeah, this one really does work. It's the fairing alone. I mean, like, it's quite a beluga style, like, dome to that forehead on it. It's quite a big one. Yeah. Like a dolphin or something of that sort. But I don't know. It's the right kind of balance. It's just enough.
Well, like that one of the things that always was a bit hard to get on with visually for me on the XSR 900 when they last updated it was that big chunky tail section, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
But actually, on
but
this
it's balanced
bike,
off now, because it balances off against the front of it, well balanced.
It looks good now. And also, I'm super impressed with what they've done with the headlight. It's tiny.
Yeah, I know. I quite like that as well. Yeah.
Miniature headlight projector LED thing. And it barely sort of makes a dent on the front end. And so it looks really racy.
Which is why it looks so track ready, because obviously you take headlights out if you're going to go and race on the track. So yeah, that's really cool.
Interestingly, we'll go on to, I nearly jumped ahead there. Give me an A, B, or C for this one.
Yeah, of course. This one I'm going to say is a ba. It's like a B creeping into an A.
B+.
I'm nearly there. Yeah, B+.
Okay, fair enough. I think I'd agree. It's one of those weird ones where there's nothing particularly new apart from a fairing. It's probably going to be super uncomfortable as well because of the clip-ons. But imagine having one of those in the garage. It looks excellent. I was going to talk about as well the new Yamaha MT-09. So effectively, this bike is the foundations of that model.
Yes.
And they've given it a bit of a tweak. And you'll see on the front end, they've given it a new headlight. The previous gen and the MT-07 and the MT-10, to be fair, were quite sort of polarizing in terms of how people got on with the looks. Not everybody likes that really super modern style. This one is still super modern, but you'll notice the main headlight is a little slot. And that's looks like it's in common to me with that headlight on the new XSR900 GP. But it's got more of a pair of eyes as like the daytime running lights at the bottom, which a lot of people have been saying look like Iron Man superhero.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like this one's not going to float your boat, is it?
This is instantly, this is a C. Can I go D?
Really? But
do you know what it is? I like that bike. Yeah, I've ridden it. It's a nice bike. I personally prefer the Street Triple because I didn't like the suspension of the MT-09 that I rode, but it was quite a few generations ago. I haven't ridden the more recent ones. I haven't ridden the SPs. I haven't ridden the ones with the stiffer, better suspension. And it was a while ago anyway, so... You know,
all right, that's really interesting.
I don't remember being too excited, and I remember much preferring a Street Triple, or for me, actually, the Speed Triple over, because that has got the more power down low. That's got more guts to it, like you say, right? But that's even bigger again than an MT-09.
Yamaha are one step ahead of you, though, mate, because they just announced the SP version as well yesterday, which, for anyone not familiar, is 1,500 quid more, but you now get Brembo style lemon brakes on it, not what you were talking about. But you still get the big suspension upgrade, which is the KYB fork and the Olin shock. So a lot higher standard than what you've got on this base MT-09. And for 2024, on the SP model, they fitted it with firmer springs. So how,
more excited.
How have they got that out of your brain?
I don't know. Yeah, I just I'm going to charge them for it. Yeah.
So I think it looks pretty good. The other thing they've done, mate, is they've gone with the acoustic amplifier grills. Did I tell you about those on the MT-10?
No.
Okay, they've redesigned the airbox so it vibrates a bit, and then also put the acoustic amplifier grills in the top of the tank at either side, and they also vibrate with the induction sound. The idea being that emissions, like we're on Euro 5 Plus now, are so restrictive, you don't get much exhaust note. And so why not just make loads of noise right in the rider's face so they still feel like they're riding a loud bike?
Yeah, it's something that Suzuki and Kawasaki have previously done as well. And probably before that, people have been doing it for a while. I'm sure it mustn't be sort of new tech, but not everyone does it. But I've been on, I forget which Kawasaki it is now, but they made a big thing about having a louder airbox noise, right? And I'm fully on board with that. I think even mine, actually, even again, just the bike I'm riding at the moment, the Africa Twin, has more of a kind of airbox noise and snarl than it is the exhaust, which is great because that's for the rider, whereas the loud exhaust is for everyone you ride past and annoy. So I prefer to be less obnoxious and have all of the kind of encouragement and the noise that I want to hear, whereas, so I'm not annoying everyone else with my loud exhaust as well.
I'm not a massive car buff, mate, but are you familiar with the concept of, I think, the Audis that are diesels, but they pipe in a V8 sound or whatever into them?
They've been doing that. I remember seeing that first on Top Gear, and I remember but that's fake, and I don't like that. That is a little bit antwack. That's because otherwise you'd choose. There was one I remember. I think it was it might have been a Renault, and you could literally choose I want the sound of a Ferrari. Or whatever it was, you could pick your
that's
your
the electric
choice.
Is that not the new electric?
No, this is probably still, but it's not. It just proves that nothing's kind of brand new tech. It just sort of they repackage it and make it look fresh. But I remember seeing it on an old Renault Sport of some sort. I think it was a Renault. It was a little hatchback, but you could you could choose your engine choice of engine noise of choice, which is a little bit lame.
Well, actually, I remember what it is. It's the new Fiat 500e, the electric one. I saw some of the videos from the press launch, and people are driving around like a multi-story car park, and it's like got this really big.
I mean, you're literally I don't know. So I've even actually to be fair, I'm contradicting myself because I've also in the past said, why don't electric cars do this? You could do programming in noise. But then when it comes down to actually having it in there, it does make you feel a little bit childish, like a toddler playing with his toys, making car noises for yourself. Just,
yeah,
you know, making exactly a V8 noise or whatever. But
I did feel childish when I did it just a second ago, actually. I felt like I had to commit for a couple of seconds. Yeah, I mean, we're probably not far off just pairing your Cardo headset or whatever with the bike and it just piping it straight in. But the other big change on this bike is a 5-inch TFT display, which looks a lot better because the previous gen had a 3.5-inch TFT and it was a bit like, well, what's the point? It's so tiny. This looks much more like a, big dash that you'd find on like any other current day bike. And also I think they've like reworked the riding modes so they're a little bit more easy to understand. Like they always had things like A1, A2, A3 for the settings and it was never clear as to what was high or low. But now it's got just like regular riding modes like sport, rain, road. And the SP gets a track mode with a track layout for the dash and some track ABS settings and all that kind of thing. And a lap timer. So looks pretty impressive. And they haven't announced the price. So that's kind of like that is the thing that it kind of bugs me. They never come out with a price when they announce the bike because if it's gone up $1,000, then it's not
the
great.
one bit of context that makes a big difference to you. Is one of the most significant things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I made a list of bikes under $10,000 last year, like the best bikes under $10,000. And the base MT-09 last year was £9,810, which makes it pretty unbeatable. I think also you've got the base Street Triple R. I can't remember what that costs, but I think it's under 10K. There's stuff like the Kawasaki Z900. But for me, like this or the Street Triple would be a brilliant choice. But it seems like it's very much in danger of crossing that threshold this year. If it might go up by £100, that'd be fine. But yeah, I think it maybe will go over. The SP is more like 11.5 at the moment, so maybe pushing 12 this year. If the prices are staying the same or like looking really impressive, they'd announce them right away, but they haven't. Yeah. So I assume they're going to go up. But yeah, anyway, you're giving it a C, did you say? Straight away.
I am. Yeah,
what about the SP?
Me, attack me.
SP
no,
with
well, I said
suspension.
Yeah. Still a C. Yeah. I don't know. They're great bikes. Technically speaking, fantastic. Can't explain it. Doesn't do anything for me.
Interesting. You said earlier that looks don't matter, but I feel like they might a bit.
Hugely, because if you go by the XSR900, that one I'm an A,
ding,
right?
ding,
I'm nearly an A
B+.
on that one. Literally the same bike, yeah.
Well, it doesn't have all those updates, to be fair, but yes. Yeah. Next up, number 8, Ducati Hypermotard 698 Mono. Mono meaning single cylinder.
Oh.
First ever.
Kissing disease.
That's where your mind goes, mate.
Okay, yeah.
It's their first single cylinder bike, I think, for the road.
Oh.
There was the Super Mono and probably some of the first bikes they made. But really, like in terms of like modern day production bikes, the first single. But actually, the cylinder head, the top end, is very closely related to one of the cylinders off a 1299 Panigale. Just take a 1299 Panigale and chop one of the cylinders off, stick it in a Hypermotard chassis, and this is what you've got. 80-ish horsepower with the racing exhaust.
Jeez.
Very lightweight.
With a single.
I think it's 151 kilograms with oil but without fuel. But I assume it's not a big fuel tank.
That is the size of single cylinder that you can go at. Is that like the absolute ceiling? Because obviously KTM and Husqvarna as well, that's their limit.
I think it's around that point. This is a 659cc engine, so no idea why they called it 698. I mean, it sounds better. It sounds a bit more Ducati, and also maybe they wanted it to be more than the 690 from KTM. So they've just gone,
literally, yeah. Even though it is actually a smaller capacity cylinder and engine, they've literally just. Can anyone do that?
Yeah, just do whatever you want.
Change your name. Rob.
Same with the XSR900, isn't it? Or the MT-09. It's actually an 889.
Yeah.
So some people just don't care, mate.
I'm just going to go ahead and call myself Tim Pitt from now on. It's just a little extra, je ne sais quoi makes me more exciting.
Yes. Okay, well, I'll try and remember that.
Please.
Then for the rest of the bike, it's monstrously tall. I think it's like 904 millimeters in the seat height.
That
register. Yeah, I think you were thinking, does he mean 804? No, 904. So yeah, it's really tall. There's a low accessory seat, but I think it takes like 20 mil off or something. Very sporty chassis. Pirelli Diablo Rosso 4 tires. You've got Brembo single disc, which is probably all you need for a 151 kilogram bike.
Yeah.
I think the forks Marzocchi maybe, and the shock is from Sachs. So perhaps they're leaving room for like an SP version that gets the O-lins and stuff. And that's about it, mate. It's got a simple LCD dash, but it does get loads of rider aids and modes. And it's got a wheelie control that will not limit the wheelie, but there's like a wheelie assist where you snap the throttle and it will give you the right amount of power just to keep the front wheel in the air.
What? How is that legal?
I don't know. Oh, no, sorry. It says in the press release, that's for the track. Okay?
Great. Useless on a track. That's not giving you a faster lap time. No.
Literally, everyone's just going to be commuting everywhere on one wheel. I think maybe that's why it's called the mono. Not because it's a single cylinder.
Because of the tyre wear that you get. That's insane. I mean, cool as hell. So what? So you can learn how to wheelie on that thing. And you're like, great, I'm the best rider you've ever seen. You take that skill set and you just go and sit on something else and just crack the throttle wide open and just spaff the bike out the bottom. Yeah, that's insane. That's really cool. I mean, cool. All right. I mean, I was already at top levels with this one, but that's pushed it. I'm an A on this one. Definitely an A. I've spoken to people who've owned the Hypermotard in the past, and
the 950.
I've had a few people where have been like, "Oh, what's the best bike you've owned?" Or what's the most exciting one you've ridden in a while, or whatever. And that's come up a few times in the past. Obviously, less commonly used, I guess, over the last few years. But like, when I started riding, there was quite a few people I'd spoken to who said that was something prized.
So I've ridden one of the older ones. Only up and down a street. Just someone was like, have a go on this. And it's so direct. Like the throttle response is just bonkers. And so I think I can see why people love it for that. I don't know if it's been tamed a little bit in recent years, but it definitely has a reputation for being nuts.
It's cool.
This looks like it's going to be more of the same, just a bit more slender. You got the two versions as well, the RVE with the graphics kind of paint job, and I think it gets a couple of settings as standard and maybe the quick shifter as standard, stuff like that. Right. The base models on the other side, it's just like a normal Ducati red. I think the only sticking point is going to be the price. So I think it starts from around 10K or just over. It's basically like $2,000 less than a 950 base model. And that's got me thinking, well, like, are you better off just getting the 950? But also it's $2,000 more than the KTM 690 SMC R, which is obviously the close competition. Yeah, and that's just for the base model, not even the RVE, which is like another 1,000 or so. So I think it's more like 11 something.
Okay.
It's a tricky one because obviously it has a lot more of what they call curb appeal than a KTM. And are those customers necessarily the same? Someone who wants a Ducati, I think is looking for a little bit of the prestige and brand as well. And so maybe you could argue it's worth it from that perspective if you just get pure joy out of it.
Yeah.
And they're never competing on price, are they, Ducati?
No,
let's be real.
I'm curious. I've never really understood what the point of a supermoto is, but
it's a certain style of riding, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, but if you look at that bike and take away the front wheel, just ignore the front wheel, that looks like it should be going off doing some trails.
And maybe it will, mate.
I'd like to see a trail version of that. I'd like to see an MX version.
They recently announced they're moving into motocross. You know how Triumph have got a motocross bike in development?
Yeah, they have. That's exciting as well. Both of those things excite me.
Ducati a couple of weeks back sent a press release saying they're moving into motocross racing as well. And also, almost certainly, there'll be like a big traily version of this, I would imagine. I'd be very surprised if not.
I hope so. I guess, if they're moving into that field, it makes more sense now why they would make the Hypermotard a single rather than a twin now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
A, B, or C? You said A straight away.
Yeah. It's got wheelie control, mate. Wheelie assist. It has wheelie assist.
Yeah, I think the point of it, mate, is that kind of bonkers riding. They're very lightweight. They're very torquey. They're tall and you can sort of dangle a leg, but equally, you know, knee down them. And it's just a certain scene within biking.
Yeah.
And I think this is a cool addition, let's say. Number 9, MV Agusta 9.5, the big adventure bike. Now, we've known about this bike for a few years. They showed the sort of preview of it a few years back at EICMA. This is the sort of concept version we've got on the screen here. But they have confirmed that next week on Tuesday at EICMA, they're going to unveil what is going to be the production version of this.
Cool.
Basically, it's just a big middleweight-ish MV Agusta adventure bike. I guess it's new for MV. It's exciting, really, because it's like a new thing for them. But we've known about it for so long because the concept was announced so far back that, you know, it doesn't seem that new or exciting anymore. But really, it's going to be a new triple cylinder engine from them. Originally, when they announced this, they said it's going to be around 120 horsepower, which would be very punchy indeed versus like the KTM 890, the Tiger 900.
Yeah.
It looks properly set up for off-roading, big 21-inch front, knobbly tires. You'll probably get good spec suspension and brakes with it being a MV. They like to fit it with the bling stuff. And also their electronics packages are usually pretty comprehensive. So I'd expect the absolute works. All that, one would imagine, a price point which is not going to be, again, like the Ducati, it's not going to be bargain friendly.
No.
You'll get what you pay for. But I don't know. What do you think, mate?
Let's start with the rating. This is an A for me, even though we've known about it for a while.
Excitement.
I mean, look at it. This is a new platform. This is a new bike for MV. That has to count for something. That has to make you sort of excited to see it. It's got the looks of Cagiva, which is a lot of what they were sort of going for.
With the Ducati Desert X.
Yeah. So was it? I forget what it's called now. Was it the elephant or the
Cagiva elephant?
Elephant. So a lot, and so it's got some kind of crossover visually with the Desert X as well. So they're both influenced by that kind of era, and that kind of look of off-roader, which is really cool. And yeah, speaking to the engineer when we were over in their factory, you know, the stuff that he was explaining did sound very impressive. Now, when you actually come to ride it, will you pick up on all of those nuances? Maybe not, but yeah, it's exciting. I do think being a triple, you'll know it's not your ideal, horse for going off road. You'd want to go for a twin. You can't really be going for a twin or even a single if you're going off road. Triples don't tend to fare quite as well. So in that kind of setting, it does seem a little bit kind of more show than a specifically off-road tool.
I think that's interesting because for me, what excites me more about this bike is like the potential for other bikes with this engine. Because in the past, riding MV Agustas, be that the inline fours like the Brutale 1000 or the triples like the Super Veloce, the F3, and even the Brutale and Dragster 800s, all of the fun and power is really high in the revs, and they really focus on making a lot of peak power.
Yeah.
And it's fun, but after a while, you're like, I'd just like it to have a bit more shove. And I think that's what a triple is meant to be, a bit more versatile, where they're very much up at like 12, 13,000 RPM or something, just screaming and making ridiculous power figures for an 800. But what I believe for this engine, again, when they announced this a few years back, is that it really is going to focus more on usability. And I just think, okay, well, are we going to get then an MV Agusta Roadster that doesn't need to be revved to infinity and back just to have the max fun on it?
True.
Because we all like the styling, and I love the idea of it, being top spec, really nice components, beautifully crafted. But I just like that in something that feels like a road bike rather than a track bike with lights on it, so that's what's exciting. And I think for that reason, I give it an A, even though the initial buzz has gone for this model. I just love to see what they're going to come up with next. And I'm pretty sure they said that was going to be the case, that this will be a platform for other bikes.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah. And it has to be tuned lower.
Totally.
If it had the same sort of like you say, power delivery as the F3, where you can do 70 miles an hour in first gear and it's not even breaking a sweat, You take that off road, it's not great for that. So yeah,
exactly.
Hopefully.
Number 10, baby, Moto Guzzi V100 Stelvio. And I don't even think I need to ask you what your ABC rating is for this bike in terms of perspiration levels, because you're probably already drenched in sweat just looking at it.
This one I'm gonna put. It's a B plus.
What?
Or A minus. I know. I can be sure, mate. I'm not just a one note kind of guy. I get it. I like Moto Guzzi. I am the Moto Guzzi guy of the two of us. But no, and I am excited for this. Don't get me wrong. I'm just leaving a little room. I don't want to sort of like blow this out of the water.
Maybe it's like you also don't like, your expectations are high for it, and so you don't want to be. Let's rate it a little lower so that you're not disappointed if it doesn't live up to it. But I guess I was thinking, if I think of your bike ownership recently, you had a string of Moto Guzzis. We all know about that. Yeah. It had its highs and lows, but you came out the other side, I think, still a big Moto Guzzi fan. But now you've got your adventure dad vibe going with the Africa Twin, as pretty much all of us have. Well, I wouldn't say pretty much all of us, but certainly adventure bike sales are definitely on the up. And so if we think about the Venn diagram of Tim, Moto Guzzi, Africa Twin, this is the thin slice in the middle.
Sweet spot in
that ought to be the bike of your dreams. Yeah. And also, we've seen the Spide version with its black, taped up bodywork, and it looked all right. But I think with the paint on it, it looks absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And then the other reason I thought you might be excited was because they've actually let a couple of publications ride it in advance of announcing it next week. There was a quick write-up on Cycle World, and they said it was chef's kiss.
Well, I haven't read that, so that's really good to see. That, I mean, ups my level a little bit, but like I say, in terms of if I was sort of excitement levels, do you know what it is? I like adventure bikes, and I like a bike that can do touring pretty competently, but they're not the bikes that excite me necessarily. They're just the bikes that I do now like to ride. I see the point in them, the purpose of them. Yeah. And I agree. I'm as surprised as you are, because I loved the V100. It was my favorite bike of this year that I've ridden, hands down. And this is very similarly sort of based, right? But it's just better for touring, if anything. It's taken more to the extreme.
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, I would expect to be very excited by it, and I am. I've got no doubt that I would ride that and really enjoy it. But prefer the V100 looks wise and stuff.
That's fair enough, mate. I think when we rode the V100, sorry, my voice just dropped. When we rode the V100, we again, sometimes we do these days where we both go out and ride the bike and shoot a review. I really, really liked it. The engine's awesome. It's got, I think we said when we reviewed it, it's got modern day power, but with that kind of classic Moto Guzzi feel and character. It still retained a lot of that. And the chassis was good and all that, but I just found the leg position to be a little bit too cramped for me to see it as a proper distance bike. It's more of a sports tourer, a roadster.
Yes. Yeah.
This, I just like to experience that engine, that ethos, you know, but in what looks like almost quite similar to the V85 TT in terms of ergonomics, that seat and tail section with the little like fins on the side there. And even the tank shape looks like it's taken a bit of influence. They've just made it more edgy and modern. So
yeah, fully. The thing for me is I know that the V100 is going to be more engaging to ride than that. That'll be a fun bike to ride. It'll be really comfortable, great for doing distance. It'll still be fun on, twistier roads, but the V100 would be more, it's just more engaging because you're closer to the bike, more involved in it.
And again, radar tech front and rear.
Yeah.
Bothered or not bothered?
I like it. It's I like that on the Triumph Tiger.
The blind spots.
Yeah. That worked well. And that was only on the rear, so I've, nothing on the front. This is quite cool.
Number 11. This one's flown under the radar, mate. Moto Guzzi V7 Stone Corsa. Cafe Racer version, baby, of the V7 Stone. So it's got a little seat hump on it. It's got a little cafe fairing. I think they've changed the bars, bar and mirrors. It's nothing new.
No.
But it's got some little... Well, let's say the XSR900 we were just talking about, the GP version, is an existing bike with a little fairing on the front and some tweaks. That's what we got here
Nice.
Nice looking? Not nice looking?
No, it's very nice looking. If we're talking excitement levels, pains me to say, I'm going to say C. It's a C.
Mate! I put all these Moto Guzzis at the end because I just thought we were going to finish on a high.
There's another one coming. Maybe I will be excited. No, let's be realistic about it. I love the V7. Am I excited for this version of it? It looks the same as the other ones that I've ridden and love. So no.
You know what? This is an interesting thing,
Looks
right?
nice.
A lot of people are saying in the comments on my videos that the Triumph Modern Classics are due an update. And I just don't know what they mean by that, because it's like, what are you going to do? Put a big new TFT display and latest rider raids? Like, it's meant to be retro. And so there's only so far you can take it in terms of capability before it isn't what it's meant to be. And I think that's the problem you got with the V7 is like they made it more powerful a couple of years back. They put the kind of, is it the 850 engine in it?
850, yeah.
But like, what are you going to do? Put really good suspension or put like a aluminium frame on it? Like
you can... Yeah, tweak it, improve it, and it has improved. Every sort of iteration, they make little tweaks and stuff. And I think realistically, you kind of want to get like second or third generation of a bike, because they've brought out the concept in the first bikes, but they're waiting for a bit of customer feedback on that, and they'll improve it still further. So there's things that oversights they might have missed that they will tweak on the next one, or stuff maybe they weren't able to get in place by the time of launch, and they'll improve on the next one. So I always like to go for like a second or third generation of a bike, iteration of it, because it's you know, it's
all the gremlins are gone.
Oh, exactly that. So for me, it's a weird sort of contradiction in that this is one of the bikes I'm genuinely contemplating getting a V7 again for myself personally.
What, as a second bike, or is it just one bike?
Just as one bike, yeah. So I would happily go back to that. I love the V7 enough that I would recover old ground and get that bike again. That's how much I liked it. And I would go for like a version 3, I think, like third generation V7.
850.
Well, no, that's the fourth, so that would be or probably even more than fourth, to be honest. But yeah, so a V7 3 is still the 750 engine. I'd love the 850. Either way, I just want a V7. But that's how much I like it. But if you ask me if I'm excited about, like, this is a new concept, it's familiar, so it's not excited. So it has to be sitting at like a C. So as not to be unfair to the other bikes that were coming out as well, that I've ranked lower as well.
I think it's time we moved on then from this one.
Yeah.
Number 12. I'm putting
yeah, you're really top
the Tim-friendly bikes towards the end. Number 12 is the Honda Africa Twin, which had a bit of an update that didn't look on the face of it that major. But I think actually, when you start to consider how it's going to affect the bike, it's quite a big deal. So what they've done, previously it was kind of unusual, right? You had the base Africa Twin as the more off-road biased and stripped back version. And then you had the Africa Twin Adventure Sports as a bigger tank, bigger fairing, more touring friendly bike. But weirdly, it had longer suspension, you know, and it sat a lot taller, which I guess gave it more ability, maybe riding quicker over, you know, gravelly trails and stuff like that. But actually, if you're going to use that as a road bike and you're going to use the base model as an off-road bias bike, it kind of makes sense to make it more accessible and easy to get your feet down if you've got luggage and a passenger, make it more of a tourer. So that's what they've done for this year. The Africa Twin Adventure Sports has less travel in the suspension. It's got a lower seat height as a result.
Smaller front wheel as well, right?
Smaller front wheel. It's got a 19-incher now, which is the same as the GS. So a bit more balance between off-road and on. And there are a few other tweaks, including the fact that in the UK, at least, it varies for different markets. But in the UK, you can now only buy it as a DCT.
Why have you done that, Honda? What the hell are you doing there?
Simplifying the lineup. So that means that it's kind of interesting. That Adventure Sports is more touring focused.
Yeah.
And costs a bit more money, and it's got the electronic suspension, all that kind of thing. The base model, though, well, like, what if you wanted something that had a 21-inch front and was a bit more of an all-rounder, and you wanted something that was just like one of those adventure bikes that is built to do a bit of everything. And I feel like that's what they've done with the base model. It's still got the 21-inch front, so it's still more off-road biased. It's still kind of tall in the suspension, but there are two key changes that I think are going to make it a better road bike. Number one is that you can get it with the electronic suspension package now, which previously you couldn't. So that means, adaptive. So it's going to like vary the damping based on riding conditions. So you could be off-road, or you could then be back on the road cruising, or you could ride fast, and it's going to make sure that the damping's optimized all the time. You probably wouldn't want that on a purely off-road biased bike. You don't want the complexity, the extra weight maybe, and you want just predictable, consistent suspension. But I think as an all-rounder, it makes it a better proposition. And then the other one that's huge is it's got tubeless spoke trims now.
I was going to say, I could see, tubeless tires.
Which, I mean, speaking to some people who off-road a lot, my supposition was always that if you really do off-road a lot, then some of those riders like to have tubes.
Yeah, maybe because they're easy to fix, right?
Well,
it doesn't screw the whole tire. Well, if you get a puncture in the tube, you can keep the same tire, but you just change the tube.
Yes. If you're doing an extended ride, you can carry lots of tubes, but you can't carry lots of tires, I suppose. And you can patch the tubes and replace them. I guess that's the general idea. But I think for most people, especially on a big adventure bike, speaking to some people who ride off-road, I think they'd just rather be able to plug it rather.
Well, I think you also run the risk with a tube of it puncturing or pinching or something like that, and actually letting air out.
Well, and you've got to take the wheel out, haven't you? Basically, that's the long and short of it. And look, I got a puncture recently on a V-Strom 800 DE. They are tube type, and I just had to park it up on like a retail park. Get my wife to come in, because I do carry on longer rides a plug and a gas canister. So. But I just don't take all the stuff with me for all the press bikes, because it's very rare that they're tube type. I don't take all that stuff, and I don't even know if I'd want to do it. I was like 10 miles from home, so my wife put the kids in the car, come pick me up, and then I went and got the van, put it in the van, and then brought it home, sort it out there. Or get someone else to sort it out, as the case may be. But I just think for most people, realistically, it's going to be the right thing, isn't it? Tubeless.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer tubeless. I mean, on top of that, they do also, I think they look better, because I like the fact that the spokes just come out to the side. It's really cool.
Exactly,
the rims are a little bit nicer in that way. I mean, if you were looking at it in that photo for proper off-road, you're probably taking the third option of those camels. But yeah, they I get it. I do understand. Both of those are DCT, because you can see that from the this side. I did say on DCT when we actually went out and did the Honda Adventure Day. I loved the DCT on that day, because it was so much.
It's surprisingly good.
It was less to concentrate on. The bike was doing all the stuff for me. It makes you look very good. So mixed feelings on DCT. Would I buy the DCT? No, I'd probably still go for the manual, because I want that kind of satisfaction and kind of engagement. And if you get good at off road, you want to be able to sort of control everything anyway. But this makes sense. It sort of I agree. Having the bigger, heavier, road biased version, the touring version, you want that to follow something like the GS with the 19-inch front, and just because you're going to be using it more on the road. It's bigger and it's heavier, and realistically, you don't really want to go and do proper trail riding on it, as opposed to the
some people do
streamlined one.
There's always someone in the comments that's some like, people, I do.
Of course, and there are people out there, who will get immense satisfaction from the fact they can muscle around a big, heavy bike off-road and stuff. And to be honest, we were on the Africa Twins. They weren't that intimidating when you got into it. If you just sort of let the bike do what it was supposed to, it handled off-road fantastically. But for most people, you're going to go for something like that, and you want to just strap it on with luggage and all of the other stuff. I do think it's a bit of a shame.
A little bit of an update to the bodywork. It looks a touch more chiseled. New graphics as well, which are bigger, bolder. I think they look fantastic, both colours.
Yeah.
Best looking adventure bike, hands down.
Yeah.
On the whole market.
In my opinion as well. Yeah, I agree. I'd say in terms of excitement, I feel generous to say a B, but maybe a B.
I'd love to try that new Adventure Sport, see how it feels. A bit lower slung and, like I say, slightly more road focused with a 19-inch front. I'd go B as well. Number 13, this is the last bike on the list. It's not been confirmed yet, but it was hinted at, and I'm sure it's got to be coming at some point, like in the next year, tops. BMW R12 9T. It's a complete update to the R9T.
Good.
Looks a bit different. They've gone a little more filled out in the tail section. So the R9T that we've got at the moment has like the steel frame, the subframe exposed, and it looks very slender. Whereas this one's got some side panels. And also the tank is a lot more boxy, and I think more influenced by some of the retro, like the actual sort of classic BMW R models that do have that very square looking tank shape, like a big rectangle.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a tweak to the probably the engine realistically, and you've got new engine covers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure about the rest of the chassis. It's going to be somewhat similar. Shaft drive, similar fork, Brembo brakes, spoke wheels as an option, some sort of semi-sticky sports touring type tires. Oh, one thing I've noticed on this picture though, mate, you've got that jog wheel.
Oh yeah,
that you get with the all BMWs to control all the settings through the dash. So while it has got twin clocks, maybe they're TFTs, and you can do all the phone connectivity, and maybe it's got more rider aids and stuff like that. So they've perhaps modernized it in the way that you get the 1200 scramblers from Triumph. It looks retro, but it's actually got adventure bike style electronics underneath with a dash that's slightly round and retro looking, but actually it's got loads of menus and features. First impressions, looks wise.
I prefer the R90.
Do you?
Yeah. There's a few things. So actually this one, my colleague Lawrence showed me in the office this week. And I was interested. My first thought was he said they're cancelling the R90 or like discontinuing. And I was like, that's a shame. And then he said they're replacing it with the R12. And I was like, oh, exciting. Cool. But that did make me think it's a shame to get rid of the R90. And that maybe the value of them will go up because if they become sort of more scarce, and I like it more. Then we looked at photos, and actually the rear section on this one, not a big fan. I much prefer the kind of skinnier section of the R90 as opposed to this one. They've got that panel on the back, that quarter panel, as opposed to a bit of the frame that was poking out on the last one. The tank and stuff like that, the rest of the shape is pretty appealing. It's nice. It does look a little bit fatter on the bottom. It looks pregnant in comparison to the R90 a bit because they've got a huge cat on the bottom there in comparison. And it's liquid cooled, right? They're liquid cooled engines opposed to air cooled, or not? Is it?
I don't know, mate. I don't think so.
Oh, is it not? Okay, well that's positive at least.
I think that's an oil cooler up there, isn't it?
Possibly. Okay.
Oh, maybe you're right though. I don't know.
I'd be curious. That makes a difference though, because if it is liquid cooled, then it's heavier. That sort of trades off a little bit against the power, as opposed to if the other one was lighter.
I don't think it will be, because like the R18 isn't liquid cooled, is it?
Good point. That is a good point.
I think it'll be. I think that's an oil cooler above the just behind the front wheel there. But we'll see. But what I'm going to say is, weirdly, like when you they're sort of cool looking bikes, but when you really look at them, even the R9T, and even looking at this, the side of it, they're messy. Like they're very busy, aren't they? There's all sorts of angles and different finishes and fasteners and pieces of steel tubing going in all different directions. And if you contrast that with, Bonneville, which just looks beautifully done. Everything works together. Everything's covered up that isn't congruous with the whole design style.
Yeah.
And these just look cluttered and a bit utilitarian, maybe.
One of the other things they got rid of is just little character things, really. If you sort of have them side by side, and we compared them, I just think the R9T looked a little bit nicer. The air intake as well, the little sort of side funnel was quite cool on the old ones as well. I love the fact that, is that actually the name of it? Because written down, it looks a little funny when you read BMW R1290.
Yeah, well, that's what they said. You can see the R12 on the side of the engine, then the 90 on the side panel.
So BMW R12 nineT. It's it just reads weird.
I think R12 with the engine plate, much like the R18 has, suggests probably that a R12 Cruiser is coming as well. But anyway, interesting. Give me your A, B, or C on this one then.
Oh, it's a tough one, that. It's a high B. I mean, it's got to be like a B plus, just because, like...
But you said you weren't loving it. Or is it just...
I'm not, but it's just, I love the R9T. It is one of my favourite bikes to ride. It absolutely didn't feel lacking for power. So I'm kind of fascinated to see what a 1200 compares to in that kind of a setup. So,
interesting. So, your appreciation of a bike isn't always directly mapped to how intrigued you are by it.
No, it follows no logic, mate. It's just a gut feeling. It's probably infuriating to hear, but yes, I'm a B+ on this one.
Well, let's leave everybody on an infuriated note. Let us know in the Facebook group what you think of the bikes we've looked at today alike. Give us your ratings as well. And if you head over to, like I say, YouTube, you can watch a lot of this podcast in video form if you search for the channel, but also on the flip side, if you're on YouTube and you want to hear it on the go on your phone while you're out for a potter in the garage or a wander, or even on the bike, if you're the sort of person who listens to a podcast while they're riding, then you'll find it on your favorite podcast player. Anything to round up with, Tim?
No, what do you think of the beard, actually? That's what I'm going to round up with.
I don't know. Don't grow it as long as mine.
People attributed it to you. They were saying that you'd convinced me to grow a beard. I was put on record that it wasn't. This was my decision.
That's hard. I wouldn't say that I've invented the beard.
That's what they were kind of implying, is that Rob is the owner.
No, I think it looks good, mate. Definitely. Makes you look more discerning. Not that you weren't already. Many thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back soon after, maybe from Motorcycle Live in a couple of weeks. We'll do a pod there. That'd be awesome.
Yep. Catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Why did I say bye like that? That was...
Bye.
Yeah, sorry, it came out weird.